I used to freeze around people, but the fix was surprisingly easy. You see, one of the reasons why I have problems with social anxiety is because you're not putting yourself in social situations. Now, let me give you a backstory. So, when I was about 10 years old, me and my friends, we went to a roller coaster park. There were many roller coasters there, you know, it's called Tivoli in Sweden, but kind of attraction park, I don't know what to call it. And we went to the roller coaster, and there was a really scary roller coaster, right? And the older kids were there, you know, on that roller coaster, right? And we debated the idea of should we go on that roller coaster, should we not, you know? And eventually, you know, we decided we should go on that roller coaster. And it was really scary, you know, we went on that roller coaster. It went really fast, you know, and I remember my friend started crying, you know, crying on the roller coaster, right? And everybody was looking at him, and it was so embarrassing, right? But it was kind of, you know, it was scary at first, right? But after I got off, you know, off the roller coaster, right? It went a few hours, and I decided that I would go, you know, on that roller coaster again, you know. And my friend was like, nah, he was not going, you know. He was never going that roller coaster again. But I went on that roller coaster again, you know. And when I went to that roller coaster again, it was less scary to go on that roller coaster, right? It wasn't as, you know, it wasn't as scary, you know. And that was because I had already experienced it, right? And same is with social interactions. You see, every time you put yourself in a social interaction, it becomes less scary and less scary, because if you think about it, when was the last time you genuinely had a social interaction with a stranger? It was probably far too long for many people, right? But if you put yourself in a social situation, you know, you do that every day, you know, no matter, you know, how small it is, you put yourself in a social situation, you will get better at not being uncomfortable in social situations, right? And the thing is that, you know, every small little social interaction matters. You may think, but it doesn't matter. But it does, you know, it does. Saying hi to a person, you know, or saying, you know, saying something to a person, right? That matters, right? It matters a lot, you know. Even saying how are you doing to a person, it matters. It matters so much, you know, it matters more than you think, you know. Because every time you level up your skills in not being socially uncomfortable, you know, you level up your skill in reducing your social anxiety, can you say? And I have to say to you that this tip, you know, right here that I'm giving, you know, with putting yourself in social situation, the first tip, is the most important tip that you have to do, because otherwise the other tips that I'm going to tell you are not going to work at all. This is the main tip, you know, the other tips are important, but they're just, you know, add-ons, you know. Now, the other thing, you know, is you have to stop obsessing over what other people think of you, you know. I used to have, you know, this thing, you know, I thought that, you know, like, I needed to, you know, be liked by everybody, right? And people needed to have the perception of me that I was not, you know, a weird person or something like that, right? And I became weird, because when you fixate on what other people think of you, when you fixate on what other people care about you, you know, how much other people care about you, you know, what they think about you, you start kind of obsessing over yourself more, and you start kind of obsessing over the small movements. Am I talking too fast? You know, do I look weird? Am I walking in a weird way? You know, all of these things, right? But the thing is, you have to stop caring about what other people think of you, because you don't have to be liked by everybody. Chances are, if you're gonna be yourself, you know, if you're gonna be you, people are not gonna like you, you know, for no reason, and that's okay, you know, because nobody can be liked by everybody. Once I realized this, you know, everything became easier. It was like a heavy weight was lifted off my shoulders, right? Because the thing is that the people who really, you know, love you for who you are, love you for you, you know, you don't have to you know, change things about yourself, you know, change you for them, because they love you for you, right? Now the third thing you have to understand is that people they don't really, you know, they don't really like fixate on you as much as they think they do, because many people fixate on themselves so much, right? And I remember, you know, when I used to have social anxiety, I talked to my dad, and I said to him, you know, I had social anxiety, you know, I was anxious, you know, and he said that I was fixated on myself too much, you know, and that people, they don't really fixate on me, they fixate on themselves. And he said to me, next day you go to school, try observing people. And when you observe people, he said, you're gonna notice that they care about themselves so much. They fixate on every move that they make, you know. They care about, you know, did I look at, you know, somebody in a weird way, or, you know, stuff like that, you know, simple stuff. You notice, you know, when you start observing, you know, people, you notice that people are so fixated on themselves, you know. And it's gonna sound, you know, it may be hurt, you know, it maybe sounds a bit rude, but you're just an NPC in their life, you know. You're not the main character, you know. And this is not something that you should, you know, take, you know, to heart, you know. This is not something that you should be sad about, because it's a relief, you know. You're not the main character in other people's life. You're an NPC. Stop fixating on what other people think of you, and instead fixate on getting something out of the conversation. Get something out of the conversation. You see, the thing is that you are not having a conversation with somebody for the reason of just talking to them. The reason you have a conversation with somebody is because you want to extract something from them. So for example, if I go on Discord, you know, with my friends, what I'm trying to extract from that is I'm trying to extract a good time. I'm trying to have a good time with them. And when I go on, when I talk to, you know, maybe a person that I partially know, you know, I say how are you doing to them, you know, in the hallways of my school. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to talk to them so that I can later talk to them about something else, right? So I can, you know, kind of make them my friend, you know, later down the line. You're always trying to extract something from the conversation. And when you focus on extracting more out of the conversation, you focus on, for example, having a good time or extracting information out of the conversation, you will notice that, one, you will not fixate on yourself as much, and two, you will actually have fun having conversations. You will actually enjoy having conversations more. And this is going to be everything for this video, so I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.